for example, corporate social responsibility and other specific issues that corporations or diverse entrepreneurships want to implement in Peru in, for example, indigenous lands. The consultation law in Peru was enacted last year, and it comes from the framework of the Convention 169 ILO, so it's specifically for indigenous peoples. It is a mandate of the government, in all levels of the government, to implement a consultation process for any type of policy or any type of legislation that could affect negatively or positively to indigenous peoples. So that implies modifications or changes in how policies are being enacted, how policies are being designed, because now it is important that indigenous peoples come to, and start being part of these decision-making processes. So legislation was enacted last year, regulations also have been enacted, and we are now expecting a methodological guidance to implement these consultation processes. So we have existing legal infrastructure that is taking place. We also have institutionality with the creation of the Ministry of Culture that is going to lead these processes, these consultation processes, helping out the other sectors of the government to implement the consultation processes with indigenous peoples. In other words, for example, the mining sectors, the hydrocarbon sectors will have to implement consultation processes in order to establish, for example, any type of activity inside indigenous people's lands. So in other words, we have a legal infrastructure, we have an institutional framework established, and so we have clarity regarding the consultation process. Clarity because it was thought that the consultation would have had to be done by the companies, by any type of corporation, and that is not right. The consultation process has to be implemented by the governments at any level, regional, local, or the national government. So that is very important to have clarity over that. And the objective specifically is to open a space of dialogue, a process of dialogue in which there is intercultural dialogue and where specific agreements can be reached, and this dialogue is being guided by the free, prior, informed consent principle. But there's no, so that this is a dialogue process that has to be undertaken between indigenous peoples and the government officials. Two specific consultation processes that are taking place right now in Peru. One is regarding the forestry regulation. Last year, a new forestry law was enacted, and this year a forestry regulation is being consulted with indigenous peoples. And the second process, and very important process that is now being taking place, is the consultation of oil block or hydrocarbon block. This is very important because there are indigenous peoples living in this block. This block has had previously very difficult problems with environmental issues. So right now the idea to implement this consultation process is to seek a dialogue process with these indigenous peoples that live in these lands in order to identify the threats, what are the issues that have to be identified in order to give or grant rights over that block to another company. So the agreement, what the government officials are expecting, that the agreements to be reached in this consultation process will establish a framework for granting rights to a company, which will be included, hopefully, in the contract that the company will sign with the Peruvian government. And this would definitely enable a much more clear process for these companies to work in these areas and establish partnerships with indigenous peoples.
Thank you very much, Milagros. I think it's quite interesting to hear already two examples here which are showing things are moving, things are happening. 26 legislations have integrated biodiversity offsets. And yes, there is a consultative law that is trying to implement the free and prior informed consent. So I know business has been asking for a regulatory framework that provides a safe environment to grow and to develop. and it seems that these are happening. Now, why are we not going one step further? And I think Peter Bakker at the beginning of this morning asked the question, we know what we need to do, we know when we need to do it, now, and we also have an idea on who needs to be involved. The problem is the how. And that brings me to Loriana Conso from the International Finance Corporation, IFC. Loriana is an environmental specialist in the biodiversity focal point in the Environment, Social and Government Department of the International Finance Corporation, in short IFC, of the World Bank. And Lori specializes in the development of mitigation and management strategies for biodiversity-related impacts for large-scale private sector developments worldwide. And basically, if you want the expert, the person that knows everything about Performance 6 standards, that's very much Loriana for us. And you're going to tell us a bit more about that, aren't you?
Thank you, Gerard. Wow. Okay. Just back here, first of all, thank you, Gerard. Thank you for the invitation here. Thanks to IUCN and the World Business Council of Sustainable Development for inviting IFC to be part of this. I think we're going to share a perspective here from policy from the finance sector that's having quite, we talk leverage. I think there's quite a big leverage point here, and I'd like to explain that a bit. Just to provide some context, the International Finance Corporation is the private sector lending arm of the World Bank. So we are a part of the World Bank group, but we only lend to companies. We also lend to other banks, and we do housing finance, but let's say mainly to companies. In all of our transactions, and later on I'll describe a bit of how many transactions we do, but in all of our transactions, we apply our performance standards. They went into effect in 2006, and they recently went through quite a massive revision process and were re-released in 2012. Relevant to this audience is one of those performance standards, which is Performance Standard 6 on biodiversity conservation. Just a bit here on why this is relevant to this audience and how it connects to the conversation of leverage in the finance sector. Why this is important to this audience. First of all, the consultation process for the performance standards was quite large. It was 2 years for 7 of the 8 performance standards. And for the one for biodiversity was 3 years. It was, and we can all understand why. We're developing a policy, a standard that's for all sectors, for all areas across the globe, really developing countries only, of course, and one standard in 6 pages. So it took a long time. The underlying objective behind that standard was to develop, actually there were 2 underlying objectives. The first one was to develop something that had credibility amongst the conservation community. And in particular, to align our definition of high biodiversity areas with what the conservation community was saying. That was challenging because the conservation community says a lot of different things about what they think is high biodiversity value areas. But we think we got a pretty good representation in Performance Standard 6 and our guidance note that accompanies that. The second objective was to develop something that could be implemented by industry. And there were quite a lot of lessons learned that I'd love to share with you at some point, if it doesn't come up in this conversation, about how important it was to have this quite big stakeholder mix, but how that consultation process went about so that we really felt like we brought the various stakeholders to the table and we fulfilled both objectives. What is the response from business? That was one of the things we were asked to respond to in this panel. What is the response to Performance Standard 6 from business? And not only from business, from the finance sector and from the conservation organizations. And I think it's quite interesting. The response essentially to Performance Standard 6 is you have industry associations, companies, bankers, conservation organizations, conservation scientists, all grappling with this this performance standard. And for us, that is the most positive development that we could see. That's exactly what we wanted from this. We wanted to develop something that brought people around the table. It didn't make them shy. It didn't make them standoffish. We wanted them to come around the table and to start grappling with this issue of biodiversity and development. From IFC's perspective, that is what it's going to take. And to echo Rachel Kite's message from yesterday, it's about crossing boundaries. And crossing boundaries means getting together and really wrestling this thing out. And that's what we believe PS6 is doing. So, quick word on what is the leverage here? Why is that important? It's one standard. Okay. The leverage is that in financial year, a bit about IFC, in financial year 2012, IFC's total investments were over $15 billion. That doesn't include the $5 billion we included in mobilized funds. Between 2007 and 2012, our total investments were over $70 billion and close to 3,000 projects worldwide. All of those projects, we apply our performance standards. But that's only IFC, that's actually not even that much. Our performance standards are also the policy of 77 commercial banks. Basically, the commercial banks we know in this room, JP Morgan, Citi, Credit Suisse, all of the HSBC, all of those banks follow one performance standard. This one, right here, these performance standards. The last figure I have now, these banks are called Equator Principal Financing Institutions. We call them Equator banks. Last figure I have in 2009. Investments in 2009, it's a while ago now, $40 billion in project finance that all were subject to the performance standards. I'm not even including 23 other export credit agencies, such as the U.S. Export-Import Bank, that also refer to the performance standards. We're talking multi-billion dollars of lending to developing countries from finance sector that's very broad that all follow one set of standards. So it's pretty relevant, and for now, it's just the beginning, and we're hoping to see more and more groups involved to help us figure out what's the best way to roll out this process.
Thank you, Lorraine. I'm sure you've whet our appetite to ask you more questions. I'd like to go to Mr. Kwang Supo, who is currently serving as the International Cooperation Division Director General of the Presidential Committee on Green Growth. And the great pleasure of having Mr. Kwang with us, because he's been working for the Korean government since 1995 and has accumulated extensive experience in the field of environmental policy formulation and implementation. And really the idea was from you to get now some ideas on how is now the Green Growth Committee working in Korea, and what do you see as the role of business in that committee?
Thank you for your kind introduction. I'd like to begin by thanking the IUCN and WBCSD to invite me to speak about Korea's green growth policy and share our experience with you. So I was asked about how Korea's green growth policy integrate the business, how to business integration will take place. So I feel that I have to start spending a few minutes of how the Korea Green Growth Strategy evolved, and then I will try to address how the business integration issues taken into consideration. So as many of you may know, Korea's Green Growth was first presented by our current president, this is last year, as a new development paradigm in his speech on August 15, year 2008, marking 60th anniversary of the Korean Republic. President Lee declared that green growth was a new development vision compared to our development, which is pretty successful by as compared to brown growth the last 6 years, and presented green growth at the next 6 years the growth vision. Subsequently, he said green growth seeks the sustainable growth by reducing environmental pollution, particularly GHG emission. So his green growth report to the traditional green, but also report to the growth with the emphasis. President Lee proposed green growth as a new strategy for the continued growth, in particular quality-oriented growth, and then and that is on the conviction that two objectives, particularly environment and the economy, can be addressed by compelling technological innovation through this to drive the growth. Since then, the Korean government, under the leadership of the Presidential Committee on Green Growth, which is a government-wide body, is comprised of 70 secretariat members, and the committee member is 40 members. 14 of them are ministers. Head of the chairman of Green Growth Committee, the Prime Minister, and the other chairman is the eminent private sector, the civilian chairman. And the committee is served by about 70 seconded officials from each ministries. So since then, the President launched the Green New Deal of 2% of GDP for subsequent 4 years in order to recover from the impact of the global financial crisis, as well as to jumpstart the green growth. At the same time, the government began to create the green growth policy drive regime, which consists of presidential committee, as I just mentioned, and each ministry designated one of the highest officials as a green growth officials, which is usually the vice minister level official is designated as the green growth official, which is ministry, as well as local autonomous body. So we have the National Green Growth Strategy as blueprint, and 5-year plan is formulated to materialize the National Green Growth Strategy. This is the last year, the first 5 years, so we are currently working on second 5-year plan. So to give you some idea about the National Green Growth Strategy, Korea, which is Korea basic architecture of the green growth policy driver, which have 3 key objectives, 3 strategic objectives, 10 policy action, and 50 the policy agenda. That is every year substantiated by the every yearly plan, and that it is monitored and evaluated by the Presidential Committee by having a reporting session to the President. So to little bit elaborate on the green pursuits of green growth, it entails various specific measures, both by supply and demand side. Basically, it treated the market for the green sectors. Those measures consist of development of specific green technology, reforms and business management, standard and regulation, as well as investments. A number of signature projects has been launched nationwide, which is high-speed rail network, ambitious smart grid plan, and largely the pilot offset wind power project, and so on. Also, one of the world's biggest tidal power plant is constructed. This completes construction this year. This is all green innovation and investment. So it is a widely accepted view that Korea's green growth dynamism started to take root in Korea. Investment and green and R&D, particularly from government sector, has doubled. The private sector's investment in green has increased compared to year 2009. 70% has increased. New business group has begun to invest heavily in green business. So, a number of the small and medium-sized enterprises are participating in green business. Supply of renewable energy has been significantly increased, although from a very meager basis. So the size of green business in Korea has increasing on the increase. Well, this is like a very brief summary of what we have done last 4 years. Now I will try to address how Korea tried to the business sector integration into Korea the green growth strategy. Basically, what I'm trying to introduce to you is what is the basic principle or philosophy of the green growth the policy drive. In green growth, we try to create a market by creating the supply and demand. In this process, the business is a key player. Government has to create an environment, the enabling environment. There is a basic philosophy. So how this one, in this process, we believe the most important element is sending a strong policy signal to the market so that people can invest. So how this can take place? the policy itself is not good enough. So we believe that we have to create institutionalize this policy. The first thing what we have done is we have enacted number of law. Policy can be changed from administration to administration, but the basic law, it was adopted by the bipartisan consensus. The law cannot be changed. Number of laws has been enacted. Basic law on climate, basic law on the green growth, and the basic plan for the basic law on the smart grid promotion. Basic law is the green building. Also the law on the emission trading is enacted this year. So this institution has to be this law has to be supported by the governmental system. So we have, as I briefly indicated earlier, we have to create the presidential body as a coordination mechanism. Also, we have designated the high-level official as monitoring the green growth policy in each ministry and local government. The second element we are trying to emphasize is the investment in the